My name is Letitia Willis, and this week for my book presentation, I am presenting on the book Dragon Slippers by Jessica Day George. This novel would be considered a modern fantasy, with the particular genre being ghosts and otherworldly creatures, as it's a book dealing with dragons. So I want to first talk about why this book would be considered a modern fantasy book. So first off, dealing with the consistency. And the author is very consistent. She's very consistent with the world that she has created. She's very consistent in her characters. She's consistent with the main aspect of the novel is a pair of blue slippers, and everything kind of evolves around the blue slippers, even though we don't know that until we read further in the novel. And so, as we read in the novel, we gain the knowledge about the blue slippers, and that develops a lot of the framework and a lot of the explanations for what happens in the book. And the novel does suspend disbelief. It happens in a world that isn't our own world, but has similar characteristics to our world. It has a king, has princes and princesses, and so we're able to understand the general idea of the kingdom. Another part of what makes it to suspend disbelief is that it deals with dragons. Detail, the author uses a lot of detail, and the detail is really important in the book. Her details allows us to understand the different characters. There's a lot of different dragons that we meet in the novel, and each dragon, the way she wrote the dragons, they each have such a separate personality and a separate character. Every dragon has a special hoard, and it's one item that they like to collect. One dragon, Vanille, likes to collect dogs. Another dragon likes to collect stained glass. Another dragon likes to collect books. And so by these little details, it helps us to differentiate the different dragons. And I feel like we're also able to connect to the dragons because it gives them a kind of human element. The details also play an important part in that it helps to create the setting. And the details lead to the setting and help us to understand a lot of what causes problems in the novel. The theme. I really like some of the different themes in this book. Krill is just a normal girl who, through an adventure, meets dragons. And people had thought that dragons were dead, and so Krill's kind of the first person to really see a dragon in hundreds of years. And it kind of explores this friendship that she develops with the dragons. And we learn that a lot of the wars that have happened in the past were misunderstandings. One, because people didn't understand the dragons, they didn't understand their culture or their history or their traditions, but also that sometimes the dragons were first forced into war against their will. And so Krill gains a lot of this knowledge and this understanding, and so it teaches us that we need to gain knowledge and understanding of people who are different from us, and that as we gain that knowledge and understanding, we understand why they do what they do, and we're able to be friends with them. Another theme that I really like is Krill as a character, and because Krill is someone who's willing to make her own dreams happen, and she never gives up on her dream. She always works for it, and if one door closes, she tries to find another door to open up. But she also, as a character, is willing to sacrifice. She was willing to do everything she could to protect her friends, the dragons. And the point of view is told from Krill's point of view, and that's what's really important to the story. Because this novel is about Krill, who's just a simple farm girl who wants to make it big in the king's seat as a seamstress. And so it's her adventure as she meets different dragons. And the very first dragon she ever meets, she gets a pair of blue slippers from him. And those blue slippers are very important to the novel, because a lot of what happens in the novel is centered on the blue slippers. And so Krill meets different dragons. She makes it to the king's seat, where her slippers get stolen. And Krill learns the fact that those slippers are made out of the skins of the dragon queen, and whoever wears those slippers has the ability to control the dragons. And during this time, the crown prince of the country is to marry Princess Emilia of the neighboring kingdom. And Princess Emilia stole the slippers so that she could control the dragons and take over the kingdom. And Krill has to step in and have to save her kingdom and to save the dragons. I feel like there's a lot you could talk about with children in this novel, You could have them try to decide their own hoard. If they're a dragon, what would they collect? What would be that one thing they would collect? I think you could also talk a lot about making your dreams come true, and what are some dreams that you have in your life, and how can you make those dreams come true? I think another theme you can talk about is sometimes people are different than us. There's different cultures in the world, and sometimes a lot of offense comes because we don't understand other cultures. But when we take time to get to know cultures, we understand people and we can become friends. And so maybe the children can select a culture they don't know a lot about and research it and come to gain a deeper appreciation for that culture. Thank you for listening to my presentation on Dragon Slippers. I hope some of you may read this book. Thank you for listening.